Captain Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, staring at the screens before him. The numbers made no sense. Energy readings from the Sol system had jumped to levels that should have been impossible. For 2,000 years, that part of space had been silent, dead, empty. Now something was waking up. "Run the scan again," he ordered his crew. The young officer at the sensor station nodded and pressed several buttons. The same readings appeared. Hyunwoo felt a chill run down his spine. He had served in the Galactic Council's fleet for 30 years and he had never seen anything like this. "Sir, should we report this to the Council?" asked his first officer. "Yes, immediately." Hyunwoo walked to his ready room and sat down heavily in his chair. The Sol system, Earth, humanity. These were words from history books, from legends told to children. The humans had been part of the galactic community once, long ago. They had colonies on dozens of worlds. They built ships and explored the stars like everyone else. Then one day they simply stopped. All human ships returned to their home system. All communications ended. The borders of the Sol system became a wall that no one could cross. Anyone who tried to enter never came back. After a few hundred years, the galaxy simply accepted it. Humanity was gone. Maybe they destroyed themselves. Maybe they evolved into something else. No one knew. Dr. Minji hurried into his office without knocking. She was breathing hard, her eyes wide with excitement. Minji had spent her entire career studying humanity. She collected their artifacts, translated their old messages, and tried to understand why they left. "You've seen the readings?" she asked. "Yes, what do you think it means?" Minji pulled up a holographic display between them. It showed the Sol system with bright red markers indicating the energy sources. "This is controlled power generation, not natural, not random. Someone is doing this deliberately. The humans? Who else could it be? That system has been sealed for 2 millennia. If someone else had entered, we would have detected it." Hyunwoo leaned back in his chair. "The Council won't believe this without proof. Then we need to go there. Into the Sol system? Minji, ships that go there don't come back. Ships went there when humanity was still leaving. That was 2,000 years ago. Things might be different now." Before Hyunwoo could respond, an alert sounded throughout the ship. He rushed back to the bridge with Minji close behind. The communications officer looked up at him with a pale face. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from the Sol system." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member turned to look at the main screen. Hyunwoo's heart pounded in his chest. "Put it through," the screen flickered. Then words appeared, written in perfect galactic standard language. The message was simple and clear. "We remember. We return. These are the coordinates for first contact. Come alone. Come in peace." Below the message was a set of spatial coordinates just outside the Sol system's border. Then the transmission ended. Minji grabbed Hyunwoo's arm. "This is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for my whole life." Hyunwoo barely heard her. He was already thinking about what this meant. Humanity was back. After 2,000 years of silence, they were reaching out. But why now? What had they been doing all this time? And what would they be like after so long in isolation? 3 days later, Hyunwoo received his orders from the Galactic Council. He was to take the Eternal Vigil to the coordinates and make first contact with humanity. Ambassador Tai-sung would join them, along with a security team and several scientists. Dr. Minji would serve as the cultural advisor. The Council's message was clear. Find out what humanity wants, assess their capabilities, and determine if they pose a threat to galactic peace. Ambassador Tai-sung arrived on the ship the next morning. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had negotiated treaties with hundreds of species during his career. But even he seemed nervous about this assignment. "I've read every report about humanity we have in the archives," Tai-sung told Hyunwoo as they prepared to depart. "Do you know what I learned? Nothing useful. We don't understand why they left. We don't understand their psychology. We're going in blind." "Dr. Minji knows more about humans than anyone alive," Hyunwoo offered. "She knows about the humans of 2,000 years ago. Whatever is waiting for us out there might be completely different." The journey to the coordinates took 6 days at maximum speed. During that time, Hyunwoo couldn't stop thinking about the old stories. Humanity had been known for their creativity and their emotions. They felt things more deeply than most species. They could be incredibly kind or terribly cruel. They invented amazing things but also fought brutal wars among themselves. The council had always been unsure about humanity. Some members thought they were dangerous, too unpredictable, too passionate. Others saw them as valuable allies who brought new ideas and energy to galactic civilization. When they left, it created a hole that was never quite filled. On the 6th day, they arrived at the coordinates. The Eternal Vigil dropped out of faster-than-light travel and entered normal space. The crew immediately began scanning the area. "Nothing here, sir," reported the sensor officer. "Just empty space," Hyunwoo frowned. Had this been some kind of trick? Then Minji shouted from her station, "Wait! Look at this!" On the screen, space itself seemed to shimmer. It was like watching heat waves on a hot day, but in the vacuum of space. The shimmer grew larger and brighter. Then something began to appear. Ships, dozens of them. They materialized out of nowhere, as if they had been invisible until that moment. The crew of the Eternal Vigil stared in shock. The human ships were like nothing in any database. They were smooth and elegant, with curves that seemed organic rather than mechanical. Their hulls reflected light in strange ways, as if the metal itself was alive. They moved with grace that defied physics, turning and positioning themselves with impossible precision. "Sir, I can't get clear readings on those ships," said the sensor officer. "The technology doesn't match anything we know." One of the human ships moved closer. It was smaller than the Eternal Vigil, but somehow felt more powerful. A communication request came through. Hyunwoo took a deep breath. "Accept it." The screen changed. A human face appeared. It was a woman with dark hair and calm eyes. She wore a uniform that was simple, but clearly indicated authority. She smiled, and it was a warm, genuine smile that somehow made Hyunwoo even more nervous. "Greetings," she said in perfect galactic standard. "I am Ambassador Ji-won of Earth. Welcome to our space. We have much to discuss." Hyunwoo stood up straighter. "I am Captain Hyunwoo of the Galactic Council ship Eternal Vigil. On behalf of the Council, we welcome humanity back to the galactic community." Ji-won's smile didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "Back? We never really left, Captain. We've been here the entire time. We've been watching. We've been learning. We've been waiting for the right moment to return. That moment is now." Beside Hyunwoo, Dr. Minji whispered, "They've been watching us for 2,000 years? Ambassador Taesung stepped forward. "Ambassador Ji-won, the Council has many questions. Perhaps we could meet in person to discuss the future?" "Of course," Ji-won replied. "You may dock with our ship. I promise you safety and hospitality. We have so much to show you. The galaxy has changed in 2,000 years, but humanity has changed even more. Come, let us show you what we have become." The transmission ended. Hyunwoo looked at his crew, then at Taesung and Minji. This was it, the moment that would change everything. Humanity had returned, and nothing would ever be the same again. The docking process was unlike anything Captain Hyunwoo had experienced before. The human ship didn't use a physical docking tube. Instead, a field of soft blue light extended from their vessel to the Eternal Vigil. When Hyunwoo stepped into it with Ambassador Taesung and Dr. Minji, he felt a gentle pull, and suddenly they were walking on solid light itself. "This technology," Minji whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "It shouldn't be possible." The light tunnel brought them into the human ship. The interior was beautiful in a way that made no practical sense. The walls seemed to glow from within. Plants grew along the corridors, but they weren't normal plants. They pulsed with gentle light and seemed to respond to the presence of people walking by. The air smelled clean and fresh, like a forest after rain. Ambassador Ji-won waited for them in a large room with windows that showed the stars outside. She wasn't alone. A man in a military uniform stood beside her. He was older, with scars on his face and hands that spoke of battles long past. His eyes were sharp and calculating. "Welcome aboard the Morning Star," Ji-won said. "This is Admiral Sung-ho, commander of Earth's First Fleet. Please sit. We have much to discuss." They sat around a table that seemed to grow from the floor itself. Hyunwoo noticed that the chairs adjusted automatically to fit each person perfectly. Every detail of this ship spoke of technology far beyond what the Council possessed. "How long have you been watching us?" Taesung asked, getting straight to the point. Ji-won didn't seem bothered by the direct question. "Since the day we closed our borders, we placed monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. They're invisible to your sensors. We've observed everything. Every war, every treaty, every rise and fall of empires. We know your history better than you do. That's impossible, Hyunwoo said. We would have detected something. Admiral Sung-ho spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and steady. You detect what we allow you to detect. Our technology works on principles your scientists haven't discovered yet. We can bend space, manipulate time, and interface directly with quantum fields. Minji leaned forward. Why did you leave? Why did you watch us instead of staying with us? Ji-won's expression became sad. Because we were tired, Dr. Minji, tired of politics. Tired of wars that served no purpose except to feed the egos of leaders. Tired of being treated as children when we offered ideas that others couldn't understand. We realized that we couldn't grow while remaining part of the galactic community, so we left to evolve on our own. And now you're back, Taesung said. What do you want? We want to help. The galaxy has become more cruel since we left, not less. Empires rise and fall. Species conquer each other. The Vrexian Empire alone has destroyed 17 civilizations in the past 1,000 years. The Council watches but does nothing because the Council is weak. Hyunwoo felt anger rise in his chest. The Council maintains peace through diplomacy. The Council maintains the appearance of peace while allowing the strong to devour the weak, Admiral Sung-ho said coldly. We've watched it happen again and again. Humanity left because we couldn't change the system from within. We returned because we can now change it from without. Before anyone could respond, an alarm sounded. A young human officer appeared on a screen. Admiral, we have incoming ships. Vrexian Empire, 20 cruisers and a battle carrier. They're approaching our position at attack speed. Admiral Sung-ho didn't look surprised. He looked annoyed. So it begins. They couldn't even wait a full day. Ji-won stood up. Captain Hyunwoo, Ambassador Taesung, I suggest you return to your ship. Things may become unpleasant. What's happening? Hyunwoo demanded. The Vrexian Empire has claimed the territory around the Sol system for the past 800 years. They consider it theirs now. They're coming to remind us of that fact. Taesung looked alarmed. You can't fight them. The Vrexian military is the most powerful force in this sector. One of their battle carriers has enough firepower to destroy a planet. Admiral Sung-ho smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. Let them come. Hyunwoo, Taesung, and Minji rushed back to the Eternal Vigil. As soon as they were aboard, Hyunwoo ordered his crew to back away from the confrontation. The Vrexian ships appeared on their sensors, moving fast and aggressive. The Vrexian battle carrier was massive. It dwarfed the human ships by a factor of 10. Its escorts spread out in attack formation. A transmission came through and Hyunwoo put it on the main screen. A Vrexian commander appeared. The Vrexians were a reptilian species covered in green scales and armor. This one wore the marks of high rank. His voice was harsh and full of contempt. Attention, human vessels. You are in Vrexian territory. You will power down your ships and surrender immediately. Resistance will be met with total destruction. Ambassador Ji-won's face appeared on a split screen. She looked completely calm. This territory belongs to Earth. It has always belonged to Earth. You have one chance to leave peacefully. The Vrexian commander laughed. You dare to threaten us? Look at your tiny ships. Look at our fleet. We will crush you like insects. You were warned, Ji-won said simply. The transmission ended. The Vrexian ships opened fire. Hundreds of weapons discharged at once, enough energy to vaporize moons. The crew of the Eternal Vigil watched in horror, certain they were about to witness the destruction of the human ships. But the weapons never reached their targets. The energy beams and missiles simply stopped in space, frozen as if time itself had paused. The human ships didn't move. They didn't fire back. They just sat there while the Vrexian weapons hung motionless in the void. What's happening? Hyunwoo whispered. Minji was frantically checking her instruments. I don't know. The readings don't make sense. It's like the weapons are trapped in a bubble of stopped time. Then the human ships did something. Hyunwoo couldn't even see what they did. There was no visible weapon discharge, no energy beam, nothing. But suddenly every Vrexian ship went dark. Their engines stopped. Their weapons powered down. Their shields collapsed. They were completely dead in space. Admiral Sung-ho's voice came over the communication channel. Vrexian vessels, your ships have been disabled. Your crews are unharmed. Your life support will continue to function. You have two choices. You can wait here until a rescue vessel arrives, or you can accept our help to repair your engines for the journey home. Either way, you will leave this space and not return. The Vrexian commander's face reappeared on screen. All the arrogance was gone. He looked terrified. What? What did you do to us? We removed your ability to make war, at least temporarily. Consider this a lesson in humility. Now choose. Rescue or repair? There was a long silence. Finally, the Vrexian spoke, his voice shaking. Repair, please. The human ships moved among the disabled Vrexian vessels. In less than 10 minutes, the Vrexian ships powered back up. Without another word, they turned and fled at maximum speed. Hyunwoo sat in his command chair, unable to process what he had just witnessed. The most powerful military force in the sector had been defeated in seconds without a single shot being fired by the humans. The Vrexians hadn't even understood what happened to them. Ambassador Ji-won's face appeared on the screen again. Captain, I apologize that you had to witness that. But it was necessary. The galaxy needs to understand that humanity has changed. We won't be threatened. We won't be bullied. And we won't allow the strong to dominate the weak anymore. What are you? Taesung asked, his voice barely above a whisper. We're still human, Ji-won replied. We still feel. We still dream. We still hope. But we've learned how to shape reality itself. We've mastered technologies that would seem like magic to you, and we're going to use that power to make the galaxy a better place whether the galaxy wants us to or not. The transmission ended. Hyunwoo looked at Taesung and Minji. Both of them looked as shocked as he felt. The council needs to know about this immediately, Taesung said. Hyunwoo nodded. Send the report. Everything we've seen. Every reading we have, and he paused. The galaxy is about to change, and I don't think anyone is ready for it. Minji stared at the human ships through the window. They looked peaceful now, beautiful even, drifting among the stars. But she had just seen what they could do. She had seen them disable an entire fleet without effort. They're not gods, she said quietly, but they might as well be. The council chamber on Axios Prime was in chaos. 847 species sent their representatives to this meeting, and nearly all of them were shouting at once. Captain Hyunwoo stood in the witness area, watching the panic spread through the assembled leaders like wildfire. On the massive screens that ringed the chamber, video played on repeat. The Vrexian fleet being disabled in seconds. The human ships that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Ambassador Ji-won's calm face as she delivered her warning to the galaxy. Elder Yeon-su, the oldest member of the council at 800 years, raised her hand for silence. Slowly, reluctantly, the chamber quieted. Her voice, though soft with age, carried authority that silenced even the most aggressive speakers. We have all seen the evidence, she said. Humanity has returned and they are not what they were. The question before us is simple. What do we do? A Vrexian representative stood up. He was younger than the commander who had fled from the human ships, but his scales bore the same proud markings of military service. We must act now before they grow stronger. We must unite the galaxy against this threat. Threat? Ambassador Taesung spoke from his position near the center of the chamber. They disabled your ships but harmed no one. They could have destroyed your entire fleet but chose mercy. How is that a threat? They humiliated us, the Vrexian shouted. They made the Vrexian Empire look weak. Perhaps, Elder Yeon-su said quietly, because the Vrexian Empire is weak. Weak in spirit if not in weapons. You attack others to prove your strength. But true strength needs no proof. The Vrexian sat down, his face dark with anger, but he said nothing more. No one argued with Elder Yeon-su. A new figure stood up. Warlord Carveth of the Kresh hegemony. The Kresh were warriors by culture and by nature. They had the largest military in the galaxy, even larger than the Vrexians. Carveth was covered in battle scars and wore armor that had been painted with the symbols of 1,000 victories. The elder speaks wisely as always, Carveth said, his voice like grinding stones. But wisdom must be balanced with reality. These humans have technology we cannot match. They have been watching us for 2,000 years. They know our weaknesses, they know our strategies, and now they return, claiming they want to help us. He paused. I do not trust beings who spy on others for centuries and then appear with overwhelming power to offer help. That is not help. That is conquest waiting to happen. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Hyunwoo felt his stomach tighten. He had seen what the humans could do. If the Kresh attacked them, it would be a massacre. Dr. Minji stood up without being called. Technically, she had no right to speak in the council chamber, but Elder Yeon-su nodded permission. I have studied humanity my entire life, Minji said. I have read their histories, their philosophies, their art. Yes, they can be violent. Yes, they can be dangerous, but they are also capable of incredible compassion. They feel emotions more deeply than most species. When they love completely. When they grieve deeply. And when they see injustice, they cannot ignore it. Pretty words, Carveth rumbled. But words do not change reality. Power is what matters, and they have too much of it. Before anyone could respond, an alarm sounded through the chamber. A technician rushed to Elder Yonsu and whispered urgently in her ear. The elder's face, which rarely showed emotion, became grim. It seems, she announced, that we have a visitor. The main screen changed. A human woman appeared. She wore a military uniform with insignia that suggested very high rank. Her name appeared on the screen. Commander Su-Jin, Strategic Operations Command, United Earth Forces. Greetings, Galactic Council, Su-Jin said. I apologize for interrupting your discussion about us, but since you're deciding our fate, we thought we should participate. How did you access our secure communications? Demanded a council security officer. Su-Jin smiled slightly. Your communications have never been secure from us. We've been listening to your debates since we arrived. We know that some of you want to attack us. We know that others want to welcome us. We thought it was time to explain ourselves properly. Warlord Carveth stood up. Explain why you spied on us for 2 millennia? Because we needed to know if the galaxy had changed. When we left, the galaxy was full of war. Species fought each other for resources, for territory, for pride. We hoped that given time, the galaxy would learn peace. But you didn't. In 2,000 years, 17 civilizations have been destroyed. Billions of beings have died in wars that served no purpose except to feed the ambitions of leaders like you. Warlord Carveth. Carveth's hand moved to his weapon, but Elder Yonsu held up her hand and he froze. Continue, the elder said to Su-Jin. We left because we were tired. Tired of politics. Tired of being told we were too emotional, too unpredictable, too dangerous. So we went home and we focused on ourselves. We solved poverty. We cured disease. We ended death itself, at least death from age. We learned to reshape matter with our thoughts. We became more than we were. You became gods, someone in the chamber whispered. No, Su-Jin said firmly. We became better humans. We kept our emotions, our creativity, our ability to love and hope and dream. We just added knowledge and power to those things. And then we watched you. We watched as the Vrexian Empire destroyed the Talari homeworld. We watched as the Kresh hegemony enslaved the Mori people. We watched as the council debated and discussed and did nothing while civilizations burned. The chamber was silent now. Every eye was fixed on the screen. We can't watch anymore, Su-Jin continued. The Vrexian Empire is preparing to commit genocide against the Talari survivors. They have a fleet gathering in the Outer Rim. The council knows about this. The council has issued statements of concern. But the council will do nothing, because the council is afraid of the Vrexian military. This is internal Vrexian business, the Vrexian representative protested weakly. Mass murder is not internal business, Su-Jin said coldly. It's evil, and we will not allow it. That's why we returned, not to conquer you, not to rule you, but to protect those who cannot protect themselves. To stop the strong from crushing the weak, to finally bring real peace to the galaxy. Warlord Carveth's voice was hard. And if we don't want your protection, if we don't accept your peace, then you will have war with us. And you will lose. The chamber erupted again. Voices rose in anger, in fear, in confusion. But through it all, Su-Jin's face remained calm on the screen. Elder Yonsu finally called for order again. When silence returned, she spoke directly to Su-Jin. You speak of peace, but you threaten war. You speak of protection, but you demonstrate power. How can we trust you? You can't, Su-Jin admitted. Trust must be earned. So we will prove ourselves. We will save the Talari people. We will stop the genocide, and we will do it without killing anyone if possible. Watch us. Judge us by our actions, not our words. The screen went dark. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Warlord Carveth stood up. They have just declared war on the Vrexian Empire. The Vrexians are members of this council. If we do nothing, we admit weakness. If we do nothing, every species in this chamber becomes subject to human judgment. He looked around the room. I propose we form a coalition. The Kresh hegemony will lead it. We will show these humans that the galaxy does not bow to threats, no matter how powerful the one making them. Hyunwoo's blood ran cold. He stood up. Warlord, you saw what they did to the Vrexian fleet. One ship disabled 20 vessels in seconds. If you attack them, If we attack them with overwhelming force, they will fall like anyone else. Power has limits. We will find theirs. The vote was called. 300 species voted to join the coalition against humanity. 200 voted against. The rest abstained. It was enough. The galaxy was going to war with Earth. After the session ended, Hyunwoo found Dr. Minji sitting alone in an observation room, staring out at the stars. "This is madness," he said. "It's fear," she replied. "They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of being found wanting, so they'll fight rather than change. Can humanity really win against 300 species?" Minji turned to look at him. "I don't think you understand yet. Humanity isn't worried about winning. They're worried about how to win without destroying us all. That's what makes them so different. That's what makes them so dangerous. They have the power of gods, but they still care about not hurting us." Far away in the outer rim, Vrexian ships gathered around a refugee colony. 10,000 Talari survivors lived there, the last of their species. The Vrexian fleet had orders to eliminate them all, but 12 human ships appeared first, forming a protective ring around the colony. The Vrexians prepared to attack. They would kill the humans first, then complete their mission. They had no idea what was about to happen. They had no idea that in trying to destroy the Talari, they had just guaranteed their own defeat. Because humanity had returned and the stars were about to tremble. The battle lasted exactly 47 minutes. When it was over, 10,000 Vrexian warships floated dead in space, their crews alive but their vessels completely powerless. The 12 human ships hadn't received a scratch. The Talari colony was safe. News of the battle spread across the galaxy in hours. The recording showed everything. The Vrexian fleet, so confident in their numbers, had opened fire with enough weapons to destroy a star. The human ships had simply absorbed the attack. Then, with movements too fast for sensors to track properly, they had disabled every enemy vessel without killing a single crew member. Captain Hyunwoo watched the recording for the 10th time in his quarters aboard the Eternal Vigil. Each time, he noticed something new. The human ships moved like they were dancing rather than fighting. They seemed to know where every enemy shot would go before it was fired. It wasn't just superior technology. It was perfect understanding of the battlefield. A message arrived on his personal terminal. It was an invitation from Earth itself. Ambassador Ji-won was asking him, Dr. Minji and Ambassador Tae-sung, to visit humanity's homeworld. To see what they had become. To understand why they had returned. "The Council won't like this," Tae-sung said when they met to discuss the invitation. "The Council is preparing for war," Hyunwoo replied. "Warlord Karveth is gathering the coalition fleet. In 2 weeks, they'll attack the Sol system. Nothing we say will change that." Minji looked between them. "Then we have 2 weeks to learn the truth. 2 weeks to understand what humanity has become. Maybe then we can stop this war before it destroys everything." The journey to Earth took 4 days. Human ships escorted them through the Sol system, past Mars and Jupiter, past old satellite stations and ancient space stations that still orbited where they had been built 2,000 years ago. Everything was maintained perfectly as if the humans had never left. Earth appeared on their screens, blue and green and beautiful. But as they got closer, they saw things that shouldn't exist. Structures in orbit that seemed to be made of crystallized starlight, ships that phased in and out of reality, a ring around the planet that pulsed with energy that their sensors couldn't identify. They landed at a spaceport that was unlike anything in the galaxy. The landing pad adjusted itself to fit their ship perfectly. The air that greeted them when they stepped out was fresh and clean, smelling of grass and flowers. The sky above was blue and clear. A woman waited for them at the edge of the landing pad. She was older than Ambassador Ji-won, with streaks of silver in her dark hair. She wore simple clothes but carried herself with quiet authority. "Welcome to Earth," she said with a warm smile. "I am Director Hee-jin of the Historical Archives. I've been chosen to be your guide because I remember the old days. I was alive when we closed our borders." "You're 2,000 years old?" Minji asked, unable to hide her shock. 2037, actually. We solved aging about 50 years after we isolated ourselves. Most humans alive today were born after we left the galaxy. But some of us remain who remember what the galaxy was like. We remember why we left." She led them into the city. Hyunwoo had to stop several times just to stare. The buildings seemed to grow from the ground rather than being constructed. Trees and plants covered everything, but it wasn't wild. It was perfectly balanced. Nature and technology merged into something new. People walked the streets laughing and talking, and they all looked healthy and happy. There was no poverty here, no homeless, no suffering. The air was clean, the water was pure, and energy seemed to flow freely everywhere. Children played in parks while adults worked on projects that looked more like art than labor. "This is impossible," Taesung whispered. "No civilization can be this perfect." "We're not perfect," Hyejin said. "We still argue. We still disagree. We still feel pain and sadness. But we eliminated the causes of most suffering. Hunger, disease, aging, scarcity. Once those were gone, people were free to actually live rather than just survive." She brought them to the historical archives, a massive building that seemed to exist partially in multiple dimensions at once. Inside, they saw the complete history of humanity displayed in ways that made them feel like they were actually there, watching history happen. "This is why we left," Hyejin explained as they watched scenes of ancient Earth. "We were growing too fast, learning too much. We developed technologies that the rest of the galaxy wasn't ready for. Some council members wanted to regulate us to slow us down. Others wanted to use us to exploit our innovations for their own gain. We were becoming a prize to be fought over rather than equals to be respected." "So you ran away?" Hyunwoo asked. "We chose ourselves," Hyejin corrected gently. "We chose to develop at our own pace in our own way. We closed our borders not as an act of aggression, but as an act of self-preservation. We needed time to grow without interference." The history played on. They saw humanity's first attempts at ending aging, the failures that came before success, the development of quantum technology, the moment when the first human learned to interface directly with technology, using only their mind, the day when humanity achieved what Hyejin called the synthesis, where technology and biology merged perfectly. "We can reshape matter with thought," Hyejin explained. "We can manipulate time on small scales. We can travel faster than light without using traditional engines. We can heal any wound, cure any disease, and extend life indefinitely. But we never forgot that we're human. We kept our emotions, our creativity, our ability to care about others." They entered another room where President Bo-Ra waited for them. She was younger than Hyejin, perhaps only a few centuries old by human standards now. She had a kind face but eyes that had seen much. "I asked you here for a specific reason," Bo-Ra said after greetings were exchanged. "We need the galaxy to understand why we returned. Not just what we can do, but why we choose to do it." She activated a display that showed the Talari people, their homeworld being destroyed by Vrexian weapons, the survivors fleeing, the galaxy watching but doing nothing. Then she showed sensor data from 2 weeks ago, the Vrexian fleet gathering to finish what they started. "We detected this," Bo-Ra said. "We saw a genocide about to happen, and we couldn't stand by. We tried standing by for 2,000 years. We watched 17 civilizations die. We watched billions suffer. We told ourselves it wasn't our responsibility, that the galaxy had to solve its own problems." Her voice became heavy with emotion. "But we were wrong. When you have power and you don't use it to protect the innocent, you're complicit in their suffering. We returned because we finally understood that. We returned because we can no longer watch others suffer when we could stop it." "You want to rule the galaxy?" Taesung said. "No," Bo-Ra replied firmly. "We want to protect it. There's a difference. We don't want to tell you how to live. We don't want to control your governments or your societies. We just want to make sure that the strong can't destroy the weak anymore. We want to give every species the chance to grow and thrive without fear." "And if the galaxy doesn't want your protection?" Hyunwoo asked. Bo-Ra looked sad. "Then we'll give it anyway, because it's the right thing to do. We know the galaxy fears us now. We know many species will fight us. But we also know that we're strong enough to impose peace even if we have to fight for it. We'll show mercy wherever possible. We'll preserve life wherever we can. But we will not step aside and let evil continue." Minji had been quiet through most of the visit, just observing and recording everything. Finally, she spoke. "You're not gods, but you've taken on a god's responsibility. Who gave you the right?" "No one," Bo-Ra admitted. "We gave it to ourselves. Maybe that's arrogant. Maybe that's wrong. But someone has to stop the cycle of violence. Someone has to say enough. We spent 2,000 years preparing for this. We made ourselves strong enough that we could enforce peace without becoming tyrants ourselves. We hope the galaxy will understand eventually. But even if you don't, we'll do what we know is right." They spent 3 more days on Earth. Hyunwoo walked through cities that seemed like paradise. Minji spoke with humans about their philosophy and their hopes. Tae-sung met with other leaders and tried to understand humanity's plans for the galaxy. On their last day, Hyejin brought them to a monument. It was a simple stone wall with names carved into it. Millions of names. These are the people who died in wars during the last 2,000 years, Hyejin explained. Every species, every conflict. We watched them die and did nothing. This monument is our shame. It reminds us why we can't stay silent anymore. As they left Earth, Hyunwoo felt torn. He had seen genuine goodness on that planet. He had seen people who truly wanted to help. But he had also seen power so vast that it terrified him. The coalition fleet would attack in days, millions of ships against whatever force Earth chose to send. He didn't know who would win, but he feared what victory would cost, no matter who achieved it. The coalition fleet assembled at the edge of the Sol system. 47 million warships from 300 species filled the void of space. It was the largest military force ever gathered in galactic history. Warlord Karveth commanded from his flagship, a massive vessel designed to destroy planets. Captain Hyunwoo watched from a safe distance aboard the Eternal Vigil. The council had ordered him to observe and document what happened. Part of him hoped the humans would surrender. Part of him knew they wouldn't. Sensors show only one human ship approaching, reported his officer. Just one. On the screen, a single human vessel appeared. It was smaller than most of the coalition warships. It moved slowly, almost peacefully, toward the massive fleet that waited for it. Admiral Sung-ho's voice came through on an open channel that every ship in the area could hear. Coalition Fleet, this is Fleet Admiral Min Seok of the United Earth Forces. You are about to make a terrible mistake. Turn back now. This is your only warning. Warlord Karveth's reply was broadcast just as widely. One ship against 47 million. You humans have become arrogant in your isolation. We will crush you and then we will teach Earth humility. So be it, Min Seok said quietly. The coalition fleet opened fire. Every weapon from 47 million ships discharged at once. The energy release was enough to vaporize everything in its path. Stars nearby flickered from the gravitational disruption. Space itself seemed to scream. The human ship sat calmly in the center of the attack. Then something happened that no sensor could properly record. Time stopped. Not for everyone. The coalition crews still moved, still breathed, still watched their displays. But to them, only 30 seconds passed. To the rest of the universe, it happened instantly. When time normalized, the entire coalition fleet was dead. 47 million ships all disabled. Weapons offline. Engines cold. Shields gone. The crews were unharmed but trapped in vessels that no longer functioned. Admiral Min Seok's voice came through again. No one has been hurt. Your life support will continue. Rescue vessels can reach you within days. But this battle is over. It was over before it began. Aboard the Eternal Vigil, Hyunwoo and his crew sat in stunned silence. Dr. Minji's hands shook as she tried to analyze the sensor data. It's not possible, she whispered. They created a localized time dilation field large enough to encompass 47 million ships. They experienced 30 seconds while disabling every vessel. The power required, the control needed. It's beyond anything physics should allow. The human ship transmitted a recording to every functioning vessel in the galaxy. It showed the battle from multiple angles. It showed the coalition fleet's attack. It showed the time field activating. Most importantly, it showed the human ship carefully disabling each coalition vessel without harming a single life. Min Seok's voice accompanied the recording. The galaxy needs to understand something. We don't fight to destroy. We fight to protect. We could have killed everyone in that fleet in the same 30 seconds. Instead, we made sure every person survived. This is humanity's promise. We will stop violence, but we will preserve life. Always. The recording ended with a simple message displayed in every galactic language. Peace is not the absence of power. Peace is power choosing mercy. Within hours, governments began to collapse. The Vrexian Empire fractured as its people rose up against the leaders who had sent their fleet to certain defeat. Chancellor Dae-hyun was arrested by his own military and charged with war crimes. The Kresh hegemony remained defiant for 3 days. Then humanity released evidence of every atrocity the Kresh had committed in the past 1,000 years. The enslaved Mori people saw their chance and rebelled. The Kresh government fell within a week. Across the galaxy, oppressive regimes crumbled. Species that had been conquered found the courage to fight back. And every time violence threatened to spiral out of control, human ships appeared. They stopped the fighting. They protected the innocent. They gave every species the chance to rebuild without fear. 6 months after the battle that would be known as the 32nd War, the Galactic Council convened again. This time humanity attended. Ambassador Jiwan stood before the assembled species. Many seats were empty, those governments that had fallen or were being reformed, but those who remained watched her with a mixture of fear, respect, and hope. "We were offered a seat on this council with authority over all members," Jiwan said. "We declined. We don't want to rule you. We don't want to control your governments or dictate your cultures. Every species has the right to determine its own future." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But we will not allow genocide. We will not allow slavery. We will not allow the strong to crush the weak. These are not negotiable. Any government that engages in these activities will face human intervention. We will stop you. We will protect your victims. And we will do it as mercifully as possible." Elder Yansu spoke from her seat. "You have made yourselves the guardians of the galaxy. Who guards us from you?" "Each other," Jiwan replied. "And yourselves. We're not perfect. We'll make mistakes. When we do, we expect you to call us out. We expect you to challenge us. We've set up monitoring stations across the galaxy, and we've made their data accessible to everyone. You can see where our ships are, what they're doing, and why. We'll be transparent because power without accountability becomes tyranny." A representative from the Talari people stood up. The Talari were a small species, gentle and artistic. They had almost been wiped out. Now they were thriving under human protection. "The humans saved us," the Talari representative said, her voice shaking with emotion. "They asked for nothing in return. They gave us resources to rebuild. They helped us find a new homeworld. They treated us with kindness when the rest of the galaxy had forgotten us. I trust them because they've earned that trust through action." Other voices joined in. Species that had been oppressed spoke of their gratitude, but others voiced concerns about human power, about dependence, about the risk of humanity becoming what they claimed to oppose. Jiwan listened to it all. Finally, she spoke again. "Your concerns are valid. We know the dangers of power. That's why we spent 2,000 years preparing ourselves. We didn't just advance technologically. We advanced morally. We built systems to keep ourselves honest. We created fail-safes to prevent corruption. We're not perfect, but we're trying to be worthy of the responsibility we've taken." The council debated for days. Finally, they reached a decision. They wouldn't give humanity authority over the council, but they would recognize humanity's self-appointed role as protectors. They would work with humans to create a new system of galactic governance, one that valued justice over power. It was imperfect. It was messy, but it was progress. Captain Hyunwoo stood with Dr. Minji on an observation deck of the Eternal Vigil, looking at Earth in the distance. 6 months ago, he had been terrified of what humanity had become. Now he felt something different. Hope. "They really mean it," Minji said. "They really want to help." "They've proven it," Hyunwoo agreed. "But the galaxy will take time to trust them. Some species never will. That's okay. They're not doing this for gratitude. They're doing it because it's right." Across the galaxy, human ships spread out to every corner of known space. They didn't conquer. They didn't demand tribute. They simply stood guard, protecting the weak and stopping violence wherever it appeared. Some species resented their presence. Others welcomed it. But everyone had to admit that the galaxy was changing. Wars decreased. Oppression became dangerous for oppressors. For the first time in recorded history, smaller species could develop without fear of being destroyed by their neighbors. It wasn't paradise. There were still conflicts, still disagreements, still problems. But there was also hope. Hope that maybe the strong didn't have to dominate. Hope that maybe different species could coexist peacefully. Hope that maybe the future could be better than the past. Admiral Minseok addressed the human fleet from Earth. 2,000 years ago, we left because we were tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of politics. Tired of being misunderstood. We isolated ourselves and grew strong. But strength means nothing if you don't use it for good. We've returned not as conquerors but as guardians. This is our promise to the galaxy. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will stop evil wherever we find it. And we will do it with mercy and compassion, always remembering that we're still human. President Bora made a speech that was broadcast to every inhabited world. The galaxy feared our return. That fear was understandable. We had become something beyond what we were. But we've proven through our actions that power doesn't have to corrupt. Strength doesn't have to be used for domination. We choose to be guardians because someone must. We choose to be merciful because that's who we are. The stars trembled when we returned, yes, but not in fear of destruction. In anticipation of change. The galaxy will never be the same, and that's a good thing. Years later, historians would look back on this moment as the beginning of the Pax Humana, the era when humanity's return changed everything. Wars didn't end completely, but they became rarer. Oppression didn't disappear, but it became costly. The strong still had advantages, but they could no longer simply crush the weak. It wasn't the perfect peace that some had hoped for, but it was better.